Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're embarking on what I can only describe as a massive historical detective story. We're going to uncover the incredible 68,000-year-old origins of the Tamil-speaking people. We're going to separate myth from reality, testing some really legendary tales against hard science, geology, and linguistics. It's all to figure out how a vibrant culture, and literally one of the world's oldest surviving languages, actually evolved. It's an absolutely fascinating journey, so get comfortable. Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap for today. 1. Roots of the Tamil people. 2. 3 theories of origin. 3. The Kumari Kandam myth. 4. Debunking the ancient academies. 5. The real Kapatapuram. And 6. The true evolutionary timeline. Section 1. Roots of the Tamil people.
Well, to really get where the Tamil language comes from, we first got to make a pretty fundamental distinction between genetic ancestors and formalized language. You see, the people we traditionally call Tamils are defined by their use of the distinct, structured Tamil language. But the genetic ancestors of these people, the Dravidian precursors, have actually been living on South Asian land for tens of thousands of years, long before the specific language of Tamil officially crystallized. Their early spoken dialects, which originally came over from Africa, contributed massively to later Dravidian languages. To give you a clear visual of this deep history, we've got some amazing archaeological evidence right here in Tamil Nadu. The rock art at the Endipati hillocks is estimated to be over 5,000 years old. It depicts men, women, and children dancing together, and, crucially, right next to them is a domesticated sheep. This is a huge milestone in human history because it shows us exactly when these ancient hunter-gatherer precursors were transitioning into settled agricultural communities.
Section 2. 3 theories of origin. So, where did these ancient communities actually come from? Historians have debated 3 main theories. First up is the Kumari Kandam, or Lemuria theory, suggesting origins on a vast sunken continent south of Kanyakumari. Second is the Indigenous Theory, proposing that these populations originated natively right there on Tamil Nadu soil. And third, the Migration Theory, suggesting they traveled from Sumeria in Mesopotamia down through the Indus Valley civilization. In this explainer, our goal is to impartially test these ideas using 5 key disciplines: population genetics, anthropology, archaeology, linguistics, and geology. Section 3. The Kumari Kandam myth. Let's delve straight into the grandest and honestly most heavily debated of these theories, the lost continent of Kumari Kandam. Now, what's genuinely fascinating about this is the exact phrasing used in ancient Sangam and post-Sangam literature. Texts like the Purananuru, Kalifukai, and this specific quote from the Silapatakaram all describe a devastating sea flood, but look really closely at what was actually swallowed: a river, a mountain range, and a fortress. None of these ancient primary poems mention the sinking of an entire massive continent. They're describing a localized sea flood, a kadalkol, that destroyed a specific coastal region. And here's our first major linguistic plot twist. The very word Kandam in Kumari Kandam has been widely misunderstood. According to the ancient Pingala Nagandu text, Kandam is simply a synonym for country or region, the Tamil word Nadu. It does not translate to a massive continental landmass connecting India and Africa. So, scientifically and linguistically, Kumari Kandam was likely just a coastal region of the Pandya kingdom that suffered a severe flood, an event that later myths kind of blew out of proportion into a gigantic lost continent. Section 4. Debunking the ancient academies. Right, so if the sunken continent is an exaggeration, what about the legendary ancient Tamil academies, the Sangams, that supposedly operated down there? To figure this out, we have to look at an 8th century text called the Irayanar Akaporal Urai. Compiled roughly 5 centuries after the actual Sangam era, this text claims these academies operated continuously for an astonishing 9,990 years. It claimed the first 2 academies were in the sunken Kumari Kandam, and the third was in modern Madurai. And this, right here, brilliantly illustrates where the myth kind of falls apart when we put it under the microscope. Just look at the math. The first Sangam supposedly lasted 4,440 years. The second, 3,700 years. The third, 1,850 years. These aren't natural, messy, historical timelines. They're exact, artificial multiples of the number 37. 37 times 120, 150. It strongly suggests these timelines were just mathematically fabricated by the author in the 8th century rather than being an actual, factual, historical record. But wait, here's our second linguistic plot twist, and it's a big one. The very word Sangam, used to describe these ancient academies, is actually a Prakrit Sanskrit word. Now ask yourself, Why would ancient Tamil kings, living in a supposedly ancient Kumari Kandam thousands of years before the Aryan migration, use a Sanskrit word for their grand academy before the Sanskrit language even entered the Indian subcontinent? The truth is, during the 8th century when this text was written, using Sanskrit loanwords was seen as highly prestigious. The author simply projected a modern, prestigious word onto a mythical past. Okay, so if the 9,990-year timeline is a mathematical fabrication, and the sunken continent is just an exaggeration of a flooded coastal town, what about the famous lost cities? That 8th century text claimed the Second Academy was held in a city called Kapatapuram, which then supposedly sank into the sea. But if Kapatapuram wasn't on a mythical sunken continent, where was it really? Section 5, the real Kapatapuram. To find it, we don't need a submarine. We just need historical geography. It turns out, Kapatapuram was never some magical Atlantis-like sunken city. Northern Sanskrit texts, like the Valmiki Ramayana and Chanakya's Arthashastra, frequently mention something called Pandya Kapataka. In Sanskrit, Kapataka means gateway or door. They were actually referring to the coastal gateway of the Pandya kingdom, which we know historically as the very real, very prosperous ancient pearl city of Korkai. Later, writers completely misunderstood this Sanskrit translation of gateway city and mistakenly assumed Kapatapuram was a totally different city that had been swallowed by the sea. Section 6, the true evolutionary timeline. Once we clear away the 8th century myths and those tricky translation errors, we're left with something far more fascinating, the actual scientifically backed timeline of human history in South Asia. 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens emerge as nomadic hunter-gatherers. By 68,000 years ago, those early Dravidian precursors are successfully surviving in South Asia. But remember, they're roaming in small groups with fragmented early dialects. It's not until about 5,000 years ago that agriculture firmly takes root in Tamil Nadu, and only then, after societies settle down, do we find the oldest standardized written Tamil dating back roughly 2,700 years. So, the crucial point is this. Human language evolution has some pretty strict prerequisites. 9,990 years ago, the exact time the mythical first Sangam was supposedly writing formal grammar, humans were largely nomadic hunter-gatherers. You just cannot have a unified, standard language with written grammar in a nomadic society. It requires the stability of settled agricultural societies, the merging of dialects, and centuries of civilization. While the archaic Proto-Dravidian language family is incredibly ancient, originating in the Indus Valley before spreading across South Asia via the boom of agriculture, the standard formalized Tamil language as we know it today is the beautiful result of those societies finally settling down and civilizing. We really don't need a sunken continent to prove the antiquity of this culture. Think about it for a second. How does stripping away the myth of a sunken continent actually make the scientifically proven 68,000-year survival and linguistic evolution of the Tamil people even more miraculous? Surviving tens of thousands of years, transitioning from wandering hunter-gatherers to settled farmers, and slowly weaving diverse ancient dialects into one of the world's greatest classical languages. I mean, that is a far more incredible and real story than any myth. It leaves us with a profound appreciation for the real science of human evolution. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this sparked your curiosity to learn even more about our shared human history.